Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, we'll try this again. Hello, hello. Okay, we'll try this again. Hello, hello. Okay. Try this again. See if it works. Did the link come through there? There. Let's see if it works here. Add to stream.
Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good.
I just don't understand.
Sometimes, right?
So, the address that you emailed me for me to send.
Just now, right?
Oh, I haven't looked at the email.
Okay, so the first time, just to confuse you, the first time what I did was I sent you two addresses.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be at my mom's till the 17th, May 17th. Okay. I gave you my mom's in case it was going to arrive, let's say, super fast. But right, I did just now, I sent you the one that I'll be back home, which is May 17th.
Okay.
And that's the only address I sent you. So I figure it's going to take probably 10 days to deliver.
Okay. It seems like I should use that one then.
Yeah, I think so.
The, the Whitby address. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great. So I'll look at the pens again when I get off my fat ass, and the one of the pens has initials on it, which don't bother you, don't bother me,
No, don't.
So
they write well though.
But they all two seem kind of alike. So maybe I'll see if I can find a third that's a little different from the Schaefer is very thin and flexible. The other two are kind of similar. So maybe I'll try to find a different skyline, maybe, because that more just has a nice italic sort of.
Is it smooth? Out of those two, the Moore and the Skyline,
they're both
smoother.
They're both smooth, but the Moore, because it's a really fine side stroke, you may think that that's a little sharper. But I'll double check, make sure.
That's okay. But they're both. Okay, well, you called the one stub. The Moore was a stub, right? Are they both?
Well,
smooth?
it it wrote kind of like a stub. It didn't look like a stub. It just had it sort of wrote like one.
And is the iridium, was the iridium nice and round, but it rolled like a
It's
stub?
it's a little sharper. It's like a stub would be, but
My
or,
style. That's
huh?
the kind of that's my preference is stub like.
Okay.
But
Well,
I realized I fell into a trap because I kind of focused just on that.
yeah. Well,
So
I'll try to get you 3 pens that write as
Mhm.
differently as I can for the moment for you. And I'm just I'm sort of juggling a couple of different things that I am wondering whether I'm thinking too hard about it, and I probably am. It's a show that I'm putting together at the end of this month, and
oh wow.
it's a show about urban sketching, and it's just the enthusiasm that I thought I was going to be seeing in my fellow sketchers is not really happening, and I don't know if it's just COVID or what, but it's bothering me and them. So
Too bad. Yeah, everything's upside down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're having a nice time with your mom, though?
Yeah, it's really really nice. It's a little different. More, I got a backyard and peaceful. It's actually more milder because she's more south,
Okay.
so it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, get away from my problems. It's nice.
Where's he located?
Boston.
Boston?
Yeah, that's yes. My
Your
brother's here.
your mother has a very deep voice.
Well, that's my brother.
Okay. Your
Yeah,
brother.
I live in Detroit, though.
he lives in Detroit, so
I
he came to visit.
Okay. Well, hello, brother.
Yeah, Spiro.
Spiro. Okay. I figured
How
it
you
would be. I figured it would be a Greek name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
A lot of Boston people are investing in Detroit. A lot of my customers, I'm a builder,
okay.
contractor, and maybe 1/3, 1/4 are from Boston
Oh wow.
because
What?
they went through that horrific period, I guess they say, in Boston when it wasn't valued, and then the people invested have a lot of money, so Detroit's in the same process.
I see. Okay. Well, I hope
Building
it
up.
works. It's let's hope.
So yeah, back to the skyline. I mean, I just like the skyline, but you're right. They seem kind of similar, although maybe they
well, I can
the
put
springiness.
I can
is
put a
different.
different skyline nib in it. I've got dozens of skyline nibs, so I can swap out the nib to something that's different. Again, I'm trying to figure out what 3 nibs that I can easily put in pens that have some character. You don't. I mean, I could send you pens that are very firm and Johnny One Notey, but they're not fun.
No.
So
No.
you can buy those new. So I mean, the ones that have the spring in them is what I'd like you to try.
So when I tried those squiggles, what I realized was how I had to go through all of them and to find ones that the feed would keep up, and actually, they were allowing me to do that.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a limiting factor. I didn't realize. Yeah.
I always felt that modern pens are stingy with the ink flow.
Yeah.
And but Wasky Squirrel, I don't know if you watch him.
No.
He's a pen reviewer. You might like his channel. He's a teacher in North Dakota, and he loves all pens, all new, old, and fancy, simple. And he does the world famous Pierre Gustafson test, which is to essentially scribble with it, because I'm drawing and I'm doing calligraphy, and I need to have
It's a test.
the ink flow all when I write fast. And I thought 10 or 15 years ago, every modern fountain pen wouldn't keep up with me because their feed was so stingy.
Yeah.
I think they've changed now. They've learned that they need to do that.
Yeah, I have some. Yeah.
So so you might. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, great. I just got an email that I was expecting. So, and Frederick says, I prefer a pen feed to be near dripping.
Mm.
He likes it wet. And so anyway, you'll find out. You'll see what they're like. And under, if they don't work for you, we'll cheerfully exchange them for something that you will like. So I don't want to have you feel that you have to accept what I think you might like.
Okay.
So
No, actually, I think that's a very low risk. I don't think we have to worry about that.
I don't think so either.
No.
At
Because
the
I'm not
moment,
used to these things. I'm not used to so
Yeah.
to you they're so familiar, right? That you
they're
probably think,
pretty familiar, but
yeah.
again,
But to
people-
me,
yeah.
I might see things that, because I'm new to it, that
Well,
attract me to them.
it's more that a lot of people that use modern fountain pens
Hmm.
are surprised when they see an old pen and they see that it's smaller than they expected. Many of them are a
Oh.
little thinner,
Okay, the
then-
weight.
and the other one, and the way they're a little less heavy because a lot of the modern pens were made of metal and big,
Yep.
thick metal. So that's one thing that's different. And then because sometimes the nibs are finer, finer than the fine ones that they make today, some people might find them scratchy.
Yes, I can hear that.
But I think you are, that might be, that you might expect that. So I don't think it'll surprise.
No, it's about customizing yourself, right?
Yeah.
You get used to things, right?
I always find that the pen tells me how to draw or how to write rather than me telling it how to draw or write.
I saw the fountain, the Boston fountain that you drew.
Oh yeah,
I think with the 5 pens. That was remarkable. Yeah,
Nine-
you showed
yeah,
good
nine
point.
9 pens. Yeah.
9 pens. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And I thought that they would be teaching me different things, but I had to pee.
You had to go.
I had ridden my bicycle and I had to plan for my safe return, and I left early, and I wasn't really as comfortable as I could have been at that place. But
but yeah, remarkable though. 'Cause I feel what you're trying to say. I feel it, but I haven't experienced it to the degree that you were able to show it. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
well, I allowed it to. I think if I had the pens in front of me now, and if there was 2 of me suddenly splitting, and we have one universe going this way and one going that way, and I have one pen in one hand, everything is identical except I have
Multiverse.
two completely different pens, and I have in my brain that I want to draw the fountain in a certain way. I don't know whether I would allow the pen to control me as much as I was allowing it to control me that day. There were some pens that were very, very smooth and flexible that normally I don't like.
Mhm.
These were pens made by the Waterman Company for left-handed people.
Oh.
And so the shape of the nib, the very point of the nib, was a little bit different. It's a little sloppy.
Mhm.
And I like them to be a little sharper, and it's a little sloppy, a little more rounded. So I sort of pushed it more than applying pressure while sort of going against the grain, which I would never do on a normal pen, but I was pretending I was a left-handed brute.
Mhm.
So,
It showed.
and I sort of was making more curly lines than straight ones, but my initial when I was riding my bicycle there and I had the pens in my pocket and I was thinking about which ones I was going to be using, I thought, I bet this one is going to make me want to draw. I was already deciding how they were going to make me draw. So I was skewing the scientific study by saying, this is the one that's going to make me want to draw all the buildings around the fountain, not just the fountain. And anyway, it was an interesting experiment.
You're a good human, right?
Yes.
You're not a machine.
I'm not a machine. But it was a fun. I've done it before with a couple of other things, but with the other drawings I did, it was a vase of flowers, and I rotated the vase of flowers, 30 degrees or something each time. So at least it was different. And so I wasn't just copying the same thing over and over and over again. So that was a better test because I was drawing rather than just repeating what I had already drawn. So it wasn't scientific studies can't be done on me, I don't think. So Frederick thinks the ear fools people more so than the feeling of the nib, and it might. I think so.
Ear.
You hear the I love hearing the pen and hearing the pen on certain paper, and it really helps me make a line. So
it gives you proprioception. It connects you with the paper. It connects. An extension of your hand. There's another element that you're connected to the process of writing. It's not just seeing, it's hearing. And I like to using a standard shift in a car rather than an automatic. Even though your right hand is in your right foot has to pay attention to 2 pedals, 3 pedals, clutch, gas. No, I guess it's been so long since I've driven a car. I guess you use your left foot for your clutch and the right foot for the rest of it. But your 2 more limbs are part of the driving of the car, and it's also listening to the sound of the motor and hearing when it's telling you have to shift, you bastard. I can't go on the highway in first gear. So so the more feedback you get from the paper and the pen and the sound that the pen is making, the better you are connected. You close the loop, right? The communication loop, you close it. And I find some people are not sensitive to that. Others are extremely sensitive and maybe thrown off.
There's one guy, one of your fellow Canadians, who spoke to me about wanting the pen to become almost invisible in his hand because he's completely connected with it and the paper, but he really liked when occasionally the pen would scratch or splot in ink because it would anchor him again in knowing that he's using a pen. So it's like eating lumpy mashed potatoes. That they're home,
no texture
out of a box. So a good manual driver can shift by ear. Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's all feel. So that's like a dance. So I wouldn't.
So I think you're. If I picked 20 pens that I felt were as close to each other as I could possibly get, and let's say they all were semi-flexible medium nibs, so there was never really fine ones, there was no really broad ones, they're all going to be so different, in your
Still.
hand.
Still, eh?
Yeah, they all were made by hand or finished by hand,
Mhm.
and then of course they were used by someone for 20 years before
Yep.
they were hit by the trolley car, and so even though I don't believe, unless you really write really, really hard
Mhm.
or really screwed up, you don't really wear down the pen that much, even in a lifetime. So, but there is some wear that happens, of course, and but you would find each one of these things, if you're a sensitive man, you would find that they all are so different
Good.
from each other, and
And I've experienced that with the cheap Chinese ones. I mean,
oh,
some are spectacular compared to the other ones. The feed,
yeah.
the feel. Others, you know.
Well, when you're dealing with pens that are of lesser grade or lesser value, like an Esterbrook, for example, was the pen itself is identical. It's the nib. They had three different classifications of nibs. One was really cheap, and one was good, and the other one was really good. And depending on how much money you wanted to spend, if you didn't want to spend a lot of money, you'd buy the cheap one, and they're pretty awful.
Yeah.
Right out of the box, they're pretty awful. They're sharp and scratchy, and a Parker 21 sometimes had shittier nibs than the Parker 51. But if
it's luck,
it's part of it's luck, but part of it is just, we're not going to spend as much money on this model, and we have to sell it for this price point to students, and that extra dollar that they don't want to spend, we have to cut the cost somewhere. So they use cheaper pens. So with your Chinese pens, if you bought 100 all from one factory, all the same model, and if their quality control is iffy, then then they're not going to they're going to write all over the place. Some might be great, some might be awful.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it takes my job is process control. So to control a process, there's a lot of elements: supplier, training of employees. Things deviate constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance of equipment. Machine goes down. What do? You do it by hand. You do like a workaround. So yeah, I don't know how they do it. It's incredible because the tolerances are so fine. So the good ones are, there's a lot of fussing, I bet.
Okay.
To make them good.
Yeah.
Material.
Well, it sounds like there's either a hurricane with your wind chimes, or there's someone selling popsicles in his truck down the street.
Neither. It's just a little bit of a breeze. Just not too bad.
Okay.
I came outside because it's just less noise.
Okay, but those are wind chimes, I'm hearing.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Friedrich, do you have anything to say to Dimitri? Friedrich is a pen lover who is very democratic as well. He likes fancy and modest, old and new, but certain things make him, as he says, makes his pants tight. And one of those things is yellow pens. But he likes pens that are yellow for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's a connection with color. Yeah.
The
only problem, Pierre, I cannot see the chat in my.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not missing too much.
Okay.
Friedrich just said a good manual driver. I told you what he said there. And he says even our illustrious modern Western brands are now made in China.
Yeah, it's too bad. So we're resorting to the older ones.
So again, I will let you know what the cost on those pens will be.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do now, because I see this email, there's something in the office downstairs for me. So I'm going to say adieu for the moment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for getting back to me, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Frederick.
Thank you.
See you, Frederick.